You're listening to A View from the Cheap Seats Wrestling Podcast.
So I was going over news these last couple of days, always trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about on this show, and a YouTube video sort of came by my desk, quote-unquote my desk, and it was from Lucha Underground's main event from their very first televised show, which prompted me to ask, what the heck is a Lucha Underground? And why is Johnny Mundo, Johnny Nitro, aka John Morrison, doing on this show? Question mark appears above my head, so I go and look into it. I'm going to actually talk about that main event when I get to the chance to it, because I haven't seen the whole show, but I have seen that, because smartly, it was a really good match, and they put it on their YouTube page to sort of build buzz. Not bad. So, I go onto the internet, and I start kind of looking up Lucha Underground. It's like, is this something like Lucha Libre USA Masked Warriors? No, it's a completely new thing. So, obviously, where do you go when you need information? Google and Wikipedia. And there is a Wikipedia entrance. Actually, about earlier this year, they said January, that this is connected with AAA in Mexico, and that they're going to be airing a show on an American network, El Rey, for the second half of this year. It's going to be 1 hour, weekly, and then they'll have monthly super shows and possibly pay-per-views. Okay. I don't remember that news having anywhere, show up at any point in time, but okay, that's fine. And this is backed by, AAA. One of the, I don't know if it's the biggest anymore, but definitely one of the bigger two of the Lucha Libre promotions. The other one being CMLL. So this sort of caught my eye a bit because it's another wrestling program on TV. And that's something we've really been missing, despite the fact that we have TNA. TNA, unfortunately, is dying a slow death. We're not even sure they're going to last the rest of the year. I know ROH has TV, but it's on syndicated, so, you have to treasure hunt to find when it's going to be on, and they can move it depending on the station and things like that. I thought it would be on, like, a Saturdays here where I live, and it was. But also baseball was on, so I got to see a lot of baseball, not a lot of ROH. So I don't really know when stations have it, when they're coming on, which is never really good to get, another wrestling fix that's not WWE. So it's interesting to have a Lucha program show up. Why is it interesting? Well, because this is the second one that showed up. I mentioned earlier that is this somehow connected to Lucha Libre USA Masked Warrior? 1, that's a really long title. 2, that actually died in 2012. I'm not sure many people realize that. Lucha Libre USA Masked Warrior, I guess I have to say the whole thing, or maybe people will not know what I'm talking about, was something brought together by MTV2. MTV2 wanting to make a wrestling program for itself, which is so funny because I think it's hilarious that MTV this is like the MTV's second attempt at making a wrestling program. Their first attempt was Wrestling Society X, which is actually amazing if you actually see it. Mostly because it's some of the most over-the-top stuff I've ever seen in my life. And it was wonderful because of it. Very, almost cartoon-esque at certain points in times. But that only lasted a few episodes. Not all of them aired. And you can find, the whole series on DVD now. Because I bought it a long time ago when it was like $10. So yeah, it's a pretty good deal. So a little bit later, they said, MTV who said, well, we're going to make a wrestling program too. But we're going to be different. We're going to use Lucha Libre because that's not often seen in American audiences. It'll be something different. We'll stand out. And they did stand out. Probably not for the reasons they wanted to, though. One of the things that Lucha Libre USA Masked Warriors, you see, I'm going to say it the entire time, did sort of wrong is, well, they started touring immediately with no backup of, with no fan base. Like, how do you do that? You want to start spending that much money with no fan base at all. They did a very poor job of introducing the wrestlers. And they started things off with sports entertainment. One of the main heels, RJ Brewer, a man who lives his gimmick, was their number one heel. And the reason he was the number one heel is because he was the son, I think, of the Arizona governor at the time, who was really against immigration. Or really, no, it wasn't against immigration. It was like for protecting our borders and stuff like that. So like, you're going to be the number one heel, and your whole thing is that you hate the fact that all these Mexicans are coming in. which doesn't make any sense because it's called Lucha Libre USA. Lucha Libre meaning, Mexican style wrestling. Why is that like? So he's the big heel because he's a jerk going, oh, you guys should all not be crossing the borders illegally and stuff like that. Well, they're not crossing the borders illegally. They're working a show. Like, you made it, instead of getting people sort of excited for wrestling, you got them to watch this angle and this, the storyline immediately, and you didn't know who was good, who was bad. They would tell you who was good or who was bad, but you didn't, it didn't happen organically. Just sort of like, this guy's a bad guy. Why? Because I said so. So, and the wrestling itself wasn't bad, but there was no real interest, despite the fact they got some pretty good talented people on the roster eventually. But it just couldn't grab an audience. People didn't really care, and I was watching it and I stopped watching it because I was like, I'm here to see some Lucha Libre, but you guys are giving me some weird like wrestling angles and stuff like that, and politics that I don't really want in my wrestling. I live in a town. I live in San Antonio, so like I know the problems that I know for a fact we need immigration reform. I don't need my wrestling telling me that. I get that in my everyday life. So they failed, and then they're on Hulu. I think the only place you can watch them now is on Hulu, and you can watch all through it. But it's not Lucha. It wasn't Lucha like I felt it was Lucha. So here there's going to be a new Lucha Underground, or a new Lucha show called Lucha Underground. It's like, are they going to make the same mistakes? Well, I don't think they're going to make the same mistakes. What's interesting though is because AAA is involved in this, so they can do like talent share. Which is actually kind of cool. So you're going to have to see some of the AAA guys eventually might show up and sort of mix it up with American independent guys. And this is actually really good for American independent guys because, it's a show they can get on and get paid for a lot. And if it does blow up, they got sort of a base to kind of go with. Another thing I noticed they did right is that they are filming all of the stuff in one area. In the Lucha Underground arena, which I believe is in California. Yes, according to the Wikipedia page, it's over in California, which is fine. And that's actually sort of smart. And to have their own, like the building itself, just one building. Like they're not touring yet. They're not trying to take this show on the road just yet. But they do have, a building. You have people, you can get extras in to sort of fill up the seats and things like that. And eventually, hopefully, if it does get a good fan base going where they can move to like small arenas or things like that and get people to kind of show up, that's really good. But for right now, having it start in its one area, let it build, you kind of have it work for you. So that's actually really smart on their part. That's something really good. Now, I haven't seen the full first episode, because I didn't know it actually was debuting. That's something they need to probably pick up on. There probably needs to be a better sort of promotion behind this, a push of promotion behind this. Because El Rey, I didn't even know I had that network on my TV, on my cable company. Like I looked. What's cool is that on their website you can type in your area code, and it'll tell you what channel it is if you have it on either your cable or Dish Network. I think it was Dish Network or either one of the satellites companies was carrying it or is carrying it. So they definitely need to push this out. I know it's just starting, so it hopefully will be a build, but you got to get people talking about it, and you got to get people to see it. Otherwise, people aren't going to watch it, and it's just not. It's going to fail. So promotion is always something I think they can sort of work on. The second thing I liked is, now I'm only taking a lot of this from the main event match that I saw between Johnny Mundo and Prince Puma. And Prince Puma looks very familiar, but I'm not going to say who it is. Haha. There's the internet. You can go look it up if you want. They had a fantastic match. It was an absolute good match. I actually didn't realize that Johnny Mundo, as I'm going to call him from now on, actually hadn't wrestled for like a couple of years, or he hadn't wrestled a lot in the last couple of years. So he actually came in and looked very good, looked very sharp with his parkour skills. My only problem I had with the match in and of itself is that they have the multi-camera angles things going for them, which is fine. Everyone sort of does that nowadays. The problem is they have too many cameras, and the quick cuts back and forth to different angles, like in the middle of moves and things like that, is distracting. It is absolutely distracting. It takes away from a lot of the match. It's hard to get into it when you're always constantly blinking and they're at a new angle. Plus, they kept showing the commentator team of Matt Striker and Vampiro, which is, honestly, that's a picture I never thought I would ever see. Someone needs to take like just a still of that so I can have it forever. But I don't understand why it's there. Like, why are you showing the comment? Because all they were doing was like sitting down. I think at one point Vampiro was standing up clapping because of what was happening in the ring, which is fine. But you don't need to show that. Don't cut away to the commentators. They're not doing anything. They're watching the match. I know they're there. I can hear them. That's one of the things I sort of said on my Facebook page is like, I don't need to know that they're there if I can hear them. Why switch it to them? Why? That doesn't make any real sense other to remind you that they're there. But these are minor nitpicks, minor complaints of a company that's just starting. The other thing, though, I also didn't like was sort of the angle that followed it. Because what it is that there's a guy in charge. And obviously, the guy in charge, surprise, he's a bad guy. Yes, we have another evil authority figure. Ooh, and he has his own group of goons. Ooh, I'm like, oh no. Like, oh, you're doing so well. Yeah, you were doing so well with this match and promoting this match. And then you get the evil authority. Because we already have that. We had that so many times in the past 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe even a decade, 10 years of evil people in charge that the gimmick is done. Like, let it rest for a while, Sure, let him be in charge, but don't let him be the evil authority figure. I can't even say that word today. Authority figure. Just let the wrestlers for the first month or two. Let the wrestling speak for itself. Have the storylines be about the wrestling, not necessarily about these other people outside and we're sticking it to the man, or oh man, the man is holding people down kind of thing. Just let the wrestling speak for itself. When I was watching the main event, everything that went on with the main event worked because everybody was putting it over. The guys were working hard. The commentating team was putting it over. Like, this is great. This is absolutely fantastic. He is fantastic. He is talented. Everything is wonderful. Like, that's what you need to do. You want to put these guys over. You want to put the product over a bit, So to have that at the end of the match, it was like, we're going to start this evil storyline. I was like, oh no. Like, why? You're doing it too early. But again, that's maybe just me nitpicking again some more. The second episode is coming out pretty soon. Hopefully I'm going to be able to catch it. I did find the channel it was on. I marked it down. So hopefully, quote unquote, I'll be able to see what happens and where it goes from here. Because I was actually looking at their roster on the Wikipedia page, and they've got some really good guys on here. I think Chavo Guerrero Jr. is on here. Johnny Mundo, like I said. The Pentagon Jr.'s on here. Prince Puma's actually a different person. What was it? Son of Havoc, who's also known as M-Dog 20. He's really talented. So he's actually going to be on there as well. B-Boy's on there. Man, I haven't seen B-Boy in forever. But you have Blue Demon Jr. from AAA. Like, all sorts of, really strong, talented guys going on in there. You have a couple of female wrestlers. Not a lot of female wrestlers. They only list 4 right now. And a couple of them are from AAA. So hopefully, knowing how this is probably going to work, they're probably going to eventually bring in a lot of different independent guys from the independent circuit and so forth, kind of bring them on. And they may show up for a week or two and then sort of maybe be gone. Some quick little stints or whatever, and maybe they really like someone, they'll bring them on a little bit longer like that, because I'm pretty sure Prince Puma and Johnny Mundo, they're pretty set on staying there as maybe one of their top 2 guys or things like that, because they main evented. So Chavo Guerrero is obviously going to be one of the main guys to be there. If you want to build up a promotion, Lucha Libre promotion, and want to bring in a veteran to really put stuff over, you get Chavo Guerrero Jr. That's a done deal right there. But other than that, there's a couple of people I don't recognize. They're probably from AAA, or they might be independent guys that we don't know about, or sort of change their name so they can kind of get their own style going for it. So it's going to be interesting to see where Lucha Underground goes from here. I do hope they are successful. I think they're absolutely, hopefully they're successful. You want to know why? Because if anyone's watching the WWE product right now, and I know a lot of people on the internet are frustrated, they're upset, loyalties are being broken, and so forth. The reason being, though, is because WWE is very complacent, very safe. They've had no reason to innovate because they had no real direct competition. You had TNA. TNA, unfortunately, became late WCW, and no one really liked late WCW. And we don't know if they're going to survive much longer. You have ROH, but again, no one can find the show or find the channel because it's syndicated and not a full TV deal. Lucha Underground is a full TV deal, but it's on a network that maybe they don't even have. So WWE is complacent. That's why John Cena's been on top for so long. But if you support something that's good, and I want to say, like Lucha Underground, their main event, very good. Maybe they can build up some momentum and go forward with this. And especially they got ties to AAA. And like I said, Lucha Libre is not nationally known in the United States, at least to mainstream audiences. The wrestling internet community, the internet wrestling community, whatever you want to call it. We've known about Lucha Libre for a long period of time. I have a DVD, I think, somewhere. I could have a couple DVDs probably. And because where I live, I can sometimes catch AAA, but I don't think I can anymore because of the cable changes. I don't know. It's really hard. And that's sort of the thing. It's like it's not mainstream, and you have something that you could probably catch the mainstream's eye because Lucha is different, and different in the best sort of way. We haven't seen it very often. It's very fast paced. It's very high risk at times. It's colorful, absolutely colorful, and your characters are wrestlers, and not so much as characters as you say WWE is. So, I'm being very optimistic with it. I'm being absolutely optimistic with that this could last longer than Lucha Libre USA Masked Warriors, because I feel like they're doing a lot more right than they are doing wrong. That being said, I really don't know how to end that sentence. That being said, I want competition. That's what I want to say. I want competition in wrestling. And anytime someone sort of pops up with a new idea or somehow gets on TV, my hope is, be successful. Because once you're successful, and WWE is going to get, hold on, who are these people? We have competition again. And then that light bulb's going to turn off in everyone's head. Turn on in everyone's head, and then, oh crap, we gotta, we've been complacent for too long. Let's push this guy, we make this stuff, and cut that down. If you get someone competitive, you give them the incentive to make their product better. Right now, there's no competition for WWE. There's no incentive to make it better. See where I'm going with this? Well, hopefully I've sort of explained what Lucha Libre Hopefully I've sort of explained what Lucha Underground is. I'm still not sure what it is, but hopefully I'm helping spread the message of it across the internet. So if you want to check it out, hit up El Rey or look up Lucha Underground on the internet. Check out their site. See if you have the channel. I believe the shows are on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. Central Time for me. Check them out. Let's see what they have. If they have something really good, I say we start pushing and promoting it a little bit. Trying to help them out a little bit. One of the hardest parts about finding something is supporting it. And I think if we can support it, if it is a good product and we support it, I want to see it be successful. The more success, the better it is for everyone involved. My 2 cents. Well, thank you for listening to this week of View from the Cheap Seats Wrestling Podcast. Please, if you like this, subscribe, share, follow me on Twitter. If you have any questions, look down below. I have my email available. I'd love to have a Q&A show eventually in the future. But for now, thank you again. I hope to see everyone here next time.